The 11th chapter of the Gita, 55 verses we have between today and Saturday over 5 evenings to see an outstanding, a spectacular vision of the same thing that you see every day. What's the difference? At any period of time, there are wonderfully positive things in the world and there are terribly depressing negative things. Like Charles Dickens says in The Tale of Two Cities, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light, it was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope, the winter of despair. We had everything before us and we had nothing before us. So what's the difference? What do you see? Do you see the best? Do you see the worst? And the Tale of Two Cities is about the French Revolution, where the worst of things happened. First, the royalty massacred the peasants, and then the commoners got together and guillotined the aristocracy. Yet, at that time, there were wonderfully sacrificial people. There were outstandingly good acts that were performed. And so, the lesson to us is, even in these times, when you look around you and everyone is talking negative things, there are some outstandingly positive things that are happening. What do you see is the question. So what's the difference? The difference is in your attitude. The difference is in your mind. And all you have to do is change your thoughts and you see magnificence in the same world in which you saw terrible things happen. So, when you have a negative attitude, you can be miserable in the best of circumstances. But if you change your attitude and make it positive, you could be deliriously happy in the worst of circumstances. And so, the Bhagavad Gita is about changing this. You look around you in the world, there is an amazing world in front of us, made even more wonderful by science and technology. And yet, the paradox is that in this amazingly wonderful world, you and I, the human being, is depressed, in despair. We are in the winter of despair. So, Krishna's message to Arjuna and to all of us is, there is no place for grief in our lives. And yet all of us are grief-stricken. You look at the best of people. Mirabai had someone who was trying to put her to misery. Tukaram had a wife who was constantly nagging. Socrates had a terrible wife. So she used to keep on and on and on, nagging him so much that even after getting after him when he didn't respond, apparently one day he threw a pail of dirty water on his head. And all he did was tell his students, you see, when it roars, it rains. The other day, we were at a conference. And during lunchtime, after listening to boring speeches all the time, at lunchtime, they wanted to have some fun. So I overheard one guy telling the others, says, you know what the definition of husband is? Do you know who a husband is? How do you know whether a guy is married? So the other fellow says, we don't know. He says, जिसकी हंसी बंद होती है, वो husband. And he said it in Gujarati and that sounded even more funny. Unfortunately, I can't say it. But that's what it is, and they all had a jolly good laugh. So how do you convert the most negative things into a positive thing? You laugh about it. Bhagavad Gita helps to change our vision from the petty to the lofty. All of us are stuck with petty, inconsequential, trivial matters that torment us. All you have to do is rise, lift your vision to something higher, and all this just melts away before you. Problems and trials and tribulations just melt away. It changes your vision from the mundane to the inspired. Today we are in the age of plenty. There's plenty of everything. But what there is a terrible shortage of is inspiration. How many of us wake up in the morning inspired that we have one more day to work, to contribute, to make a difference in our lives and hopefully in the lives of someone else? This inspiration is missing. And most importantly, from the worldly to the divine. For which the 11th chapter says, Krishna tells Arjuna, you have physical eyes. When you view the world from the viewpoint of your physical eyes, you see a dark, dreary world. So he says, I will give you divya chakshu. I will give you this divine eye with which you will be able to see wonderful things, amazing things, in the same environment, the same situation. And this is the most important thing that we need to take away, that you don't need to change your position in life. You don't need to change your location in life. You only need to change your disposition.